Hey there, Flusstube. My name is Abby with Crafted Zen, and welcome to Flusstube number 1. It's my first one. I'm a little nervous, hoping I'm not going to stumble around too much. True to form, I did create a little bit of an outline to kind of help myself stay on track here. But yeah, so my name's Abby. I guess we'll kick things off with a little bit of an introduction to me and Crafted Zen and what that all means to me and maybe to you and all those goodies. So I live in the southwest suburbs of Chicago. I have been stitching for probably just shy of 20 years. I got into it because my grandmother, I come from a long line of craft enthusiasts, I would imagine most of us do. And my grandma Phyllis taught me everything that I know about stitching and got me into it because when I was younger, she lived in Indianapolis and I lived in the south suburbs of Chicago still. So I wouldn't get to see her, too often. And there were a few things that she would always love to do, right? She would always love to watch the Cubs with my great-grandparents. And then, she loved to stitch. Those are the two things. These days, she's doing more crocheting and less stitching. But I used to always watch her and be fascinated by, all of the threads and the pictures she was creating and the activity. And I would beg and beg and beg for her to teach me how to do it. And finally, I'd say when I was, let's say, like 12-ish, she introduced me to probably a Dimensions kit that I'm sure I maybe did or did not finish. I had probably a really sloppy back, which I know many people probably don't care about, but Phyllis was not happy with me. So I had to learn a lot about stitching, and even these days, if she sees me doing something that she doesn't think quite as proper, she always makes sure I hear about it. But so I stitched when I was younger. I even went so far as to compete at a state stitching thing. There was some honor society thing in middle school where everybody went in and people competed with all kinds of different stuff. Like, I think stitching was one thing. I think there were athletic competitions. There were science competitions. I went in with my stitching piece, and I think I won like second place or something. So that was my claim to fame when it comes to stitching. But otherwise, I really stitched on and off throughout from probably 12 to now. In the last 2 to 3 years, I've been stitching every day for the most part, and I've gotten really majorly back into the hobby and the habit. I've dabbled with knitting. My mom is amazing, and she can knit pretty much anything. She knits socks and makeup, cloths, scarves. I've got like the infinity scarves and everything. I should never buy any knitted product ever because she's so good at that. So she holds it down with the knitting. I can knit, but it's not my go-to. My grandmother used to be the world's, stitchiest stitcher. At one point, she even, I think, owned, a significant shop in Indianapolis, and sold that. She did that after retirement. So she bought a store, had that for a few years, and then she realized that she bought the store so that she could just buy everything in it, and she would probably not be the best owner for the store from a business perspective. I'm kind of all over the place. But either way, so, she used to stitch a ton, and now these days she's got, the world's greatest stash that we still haven't gone through, but she's been really into crochet. I think that might be a little bit easier for her with her hands and her eyes at this point. Not that she couldn't do it, but I'm sure we all can understand how that goes. So yeah, that's really how I got introduced to stitching. About early June, I started to discover Flusstube and stitching, and I created an Instagram because I realized that there were a lot of other people like me. Whenever I would go to my stitching store locally, I would always wonder where all the other stitchers are, because you only see a couple of them in there ever. And I realize now that they're all online and they're everywhere. There are people just like me who love stitching. And so that's really the reason why I wanted to start a Flusstube, because I would love to meet more stitchy friends and more people that enjoy what I do and don't think it's just, a grandma hobby. I lovingly refer to myself as a grandma because I love to stitch, and I go to bed at 8 p.m., Central Standard Time. But I know there's a lot of other people out there that are passionate about stitching as well, and I'm hoping that maybe through sharing my stitching and, you know, getting more active in Flusstube and on Instagram, I'll be able to meet more people, you know, find new designers, experience new stuff. I know they just released information about StitchCon, so I can be in person with Stitch friends and that kind of stuff, so that's pretty cool. But I figured, you know, why not? Why not jump on here, talk into the air awkwardly, share my stitching, and hopefully meet a couple other people that are interested in what I'm interested in. Crafted Zen, well, I know kind of why. I could pretend. I'm like, I don't know why I chose the Crafted Zen. I don't know. I think that stitching has always been my happy place, and it's always been something that brings me joy and calm and zen. And so like I don't know, the thought popped into my head one evening, and I went online to see if craftedzen.com was taken, and it wasn't. And so I kind of just always thought to myself how great it would be to start a blog or something where I could start sharing my stitching and stuff like that. And so when I saw that was available, I jumped on that. And then when I decided I wanted to create an Instagram and get kind of more into checking out other people's stitching and learning more about Flusstube, it kind of just made sense for Crafted Zen to be the name of that too, just to kind of stick with the theme, if you will. But yeah, I mean, I think that stitching is just a really peaceful hobby. I think it's a thing that keeps my mind active. I do watch a lot of TV, as I'm sure many people do and have throughout the pandemic. You know, I'm rewatching everything right now. I'm rewatching True Blood. I'm in the end of season 5, and you know, I'm sorry if I spoil this for anyone, but I mean, True Blood's been around a long time. And if you're familiar with the show, we're entering the Byleth era. If you're not familiar, that will make no sense, and you don't need to worry about it. But either way, so I like to stitch while I watch TV, as I'm sure many other people do. You know, it's a great hobby that keeps my hands and my face and my mind out of Facebook or Instagram or social media. You know, I think that we can all say that can be something that can suck up way too much time. So I guess at least while I'm Netflix binging, I can do something that keeps my mind somewhat active. I'm also very type A, so stitching is something that I enjoy because, you know, it's a repetitive pattern. So either way, so that's my, I guess, you know, how I got into stitching, why I wanted to start a Flusstube, and my stitching or crafting history, if you will. A couple other fun things about me. So as I've mentioned, so I live in the southwest suburbs of Chicago, about 45 miles south. So I do have an accent, or, you know, if you also have a Chicago Midwestern accent, maybe you don't pick it up, but others I'm sure will. But so yeah, I live about, we'll call it an hour south of Chicago. With my boyfriend and partner, Joe, and we live in a home that we bought and moved into about a year ago. It is a remodel, so if as I continue with this, I'm sure I'll share some information and stories about what's going on there. But right now I come to you from the front room of our home because the den and my office area where I would normally film something like this, if that was a normal thing I did, it's currently going through a remodel. So over the winter, we had a pretty rough winter, as we normally do, and we had some ice damming issues. So we had to do some repairs, which then turned into a remodel that started in May, is still going, will finish one day, I'm confident. But that'll all be credit to Joe, because he's handy and I am not. I am worthless when it comes to those types of things. I'm really handy if you want to know about reality TV, like Bravo reality, Housewives, 90 Day Fiance, you know, stitching, classical literature. But if you want me to perform handy tasks or manual labor, it's not that I won't do it, it's that I'm just not very good at it. I need a lot of direction. So we just leave the remodeling to him. But anyway, so beyond that, so I've got Joe, who's wonderful. We've been together for about 2.5 years now. We actually moved in together right as the pandemic was about to get going, and we moved in December, and then lockdown hit in March. So I'd like to say that if we were able to make it through that, I think we can make it through anything. And so he's wonderful, and I'm very lucky to have him. Otherwise, they're all sleeping right now, thankfully. But I do have 3 puppies. I'm a big, huge dog lover, dog mom. I have Hans, Henry, and Fred. So Hans is our 10-year-old miniature schnoodle. He's silver, and he is just the light of my life. I got him when I was in college, and he's just everything. Not that they all aren't everything, but you guys all understand. I mean, that's my baby, right? So then, so Hans is 10. He's my silver miniature schnoodle. Then we have Henry, who is he just turned 2 on August 10th. He is a German retriever. He's a German Shepherd Golden Retriever mix, probably some Rhodesian Ridgeback in there as well, I'm thinking, just based on some of his body composition, but he was a rescue, and I haven't gotten him tested or anything to find out exactly what he is, but you know, when you see him, you know he's definitely German Shepherd Golden Retriever. So Henry's 2, like I said. He's wonderful. I mean, we added him to our family also right as the pandemic was getting started. We brought him home in February of 2021. So he has just been a wonderful addition to the family. He and Hans get along better than Hans has ever gotten along with any other dog. He is so trainable, just so coachable, wants to please. All you have to do is say his name or give him, you know, look in his general direction, and he can almost read your mind, and he's an empath for sure. And then our most recent addition is Fred. Joe and I had always intended on adding a 3rd puppy to our pack this year. Just because as Hans is getting a little bit older, we want to make sure that we don't disrespect him in his senior years by bringing in a younger member of the pack too late. So Fred is also a miniature schnoodle because Joe and I just absolutely love that breed. I mean, they're just wonderful dogs. And Fred is going to be 18 weeks just this upcoming Wednesday. So he's black. He's probably about 12 pounds right now, 12 pounds of terror. But he's very, very sweet, very smart, very sweet, maniacal, if you ask Joe. So for work, I am a marketing and digital services manager for a tech company, and that really just means that I can speak IT, but I'm what's called a user, so you don't want to have to call me for help troubleshooting because I'm useless. So I'm useless when it comes to home remodeling and computer repair and troubleshooting is what we've learned so far today. But yeah, so I've been with my current company for about 5.5 years and learn new things every day, which is wonderful. One of the cool things about working in marketing is there's no 2 days that are the same. You're always trying new things, testing new things to try and help bring in new contacts to help grow the business, and I'm pretty passionate about that. What else is there? So the 3 dogs. I live in Chicagoland. My family lives in Texas, so periodically I'm sure I'll be talking about things that are going on in Austin. They all picked up and left about 5 years ago. I'm really passionate about houseplants. I've got, I think, over 60 at this point, so they're all over the place, and I would love to do a walkthrough or a tour of my houseplants at some point. I've got a bunch of different ones. That's also been something that's a hobby that's kind of, I wouldn't say blossomed, more exploded for me over the last 2 years throughout the pandemic. My mom, again, it's funny, all these hobbies and interests are inherited from my parents and my mother specifically. So that's pretty cool. But when they moved about 3 years ago, my family, my mom's always been really passionate about houseplants, and she didn't ever really try to talk to me too much about plants or see if I don't think I was really that interested in it, so she wasn't going to try and force something on me like that. But when they moved down south, I mean, the climate is just so different, and while, I mean, in Chicagoland it's pretty temperate in the summer, when you live down south, you've got, you know, tropical temperatures throughout the year, and that's pretty cool because you get access to all kinds of new plants that you never were able to grow or nurture or foster or propagate or any number of things before. And I think by seeing the new plants in all of her outdoor space and just how they thrived, it really just caught my attention and started to capture my interest. I had bought a couple houseplants, and then I learned about propagating because I'm cheap and I got, you know, a mountain of student loans that I still need to make my way through. So I try to find hobbies that I can, you know, not have to spend too much money on, which is why I don't know why I stick with cross stitching, because we all know how that goes too. But once I learned that we could propagate, what we would start doing is I would basically, we would take cuttings of my mom's parent plants, and then I would fly home with them. I hope that's not illegal. I don't think it is, because they're all house plants. None of them are going outside or anything, and none of them are, what's the word? It's not toxic. Those of you that know the word will know what I'm trying to say. Those of you that don't won't care and will hope I moved on. So none of the plants were bad, we'll say. They're typical house plants, but I bring them home, and then not only do I save money because I'm cheap, but the more important thing is it's like a baby plant for my mom's parent plant. So that's really, really cool. So what we started doing is we would do like Sunday morning, which is today. Today's Sunday. I tried to FaceTime her, but the call didn't connect or something. AKA she probably rejected me. Tear. But either way, every Sunday morning we would kind of do like our own little mini plant tours, and so we would FaceTime each other, but half the time the camera wouldn't be facing our face, it'd be facing our plants, where we would walk around and say, oh, see, this one's got a new leaf, this one's got new stuff, this one's got new stuff. So I'm sure I'll be bringing some plants onto this channel as well. So I think that's probably a good intro to things. After the intro, I figured I could walk through some of my current works in progress, or my WIPs. I'm learning the lingo, and talk through those. And then after that, I can show a couple projects that are on the bench, or that are waiting for me to start. And then we can kind of close this one out and call this a win. So the first one I will show you guys is, right now I'm working on Butterfly Cloche by Hello from Liz Matthews. So I know I see people on I don't think I really need to back this, because I see people online going like, oh, make sure you can see the pattern. But as you guys can see, I'm on the final stretch here of this one. I am stitching this one on, let's see, 40 count Winter Wishes HDS linen, which might be shorthand for something else. I do all my shopping at the Inspired Needle, if it's in person and not online, at the Inspired Needle in Lemont, Illinois, which is a fantastic little stitchy shop if you're in the south suburbs or any area of greater Chicagoland and want to make the trip. But so yeah, this is stitching on 40 count with all of the called for DMC, and I've really been loving it. I mean, I think the colors are just beautiful. And this is not the called for linen, but in person it's kind of got this slightly cloudy look. You can kind of pick up on it on the screen, but this is really, really pretty and has been a joy. Very tiny, tiny stitches though. And then all of my stitching bags are from the 805 Stitcher, who I found on Instagram, and who has an Etsy shop, which is wonderful. This is my Ruth Bader Ginsburg bag, which is pretty cool. Pretty cool. All right, so that one's that. What's this one? Oh, this one's the Gentle Rain. So I can show you guys what this one is going to look like. Gentle Rain by the Blue Flower. And I don't have this one on my snap, but we're just starting. Again, sometimes it's really hard for me to get the called for linen. So this one as well is not being stitched on the called for, but I can. I've been trying to be better about keeping the names of my fabrics, since I knew I wanted to start doing this, and I'll need to be able to tell people what I'm doing. This is Legacy 37 count, color Wild Honey, for the Gentle Rain. So once again, very new start. Very, very new. It's gonna be really pretty though. I loved all the little animals. I guess I'll show that again. I loved all the little animals and the girl in the raincoat. I was thinking maybe I could try and make her hair more like mine, you know, do some highlight action or something. But either way, like I said, I was pretty sad because it's hard for me sometimes to get the called for linen at my shop. I mean, nobody's fault. You can't carry everything all the time. And I think as pictured, it was more of like a pink, and this linen is more of a tan, but that's okay. It's still gonna turn out absolutely beautiful. And my bag, which again was the 805 Stitcher. I love this. It's like female villain, Disney villains. Very cool. And she always sends a needle minder with every project, or well, every project bag that you buy. Oh, so this one's fun. So this one, I can share this on here. I haven't shared it with my family or sent any pictures, but my stepfather is really afraid of Bigfoot and Sasquatch. I don't know why. Everybody's got their, I always call it an irrational fear, because it's not, well, if you believe Bigfoot's real, it's rational. If you don't believe Bigfoot's real, then it's an irrational fear. A rational fear would be like spiders, right? Because that's biological. Throughout history, you know, spiders could kill us with their venom, so we learned over time not to like them, just like innately. Same thing with like snakes and things of that nature. My most irrational fear, although you could question whether it's irrational or not these days, is aliens and alien abduction. Blame my mother and sci-fi. I watched some scary, like those shows that used to be on, like, I don't know, not Lifetime, like the Sci-Fi Channel, where they'd talk about like, oh, I was abducted by aliens. I think I caught too many of those when I was young, and it scared the crap out of me. But anyway, that was a tangent alert. So this is Bigfoot Bunch, and it's a little Plum Street sampler. As you can see, there's a Bigfoot, which is really cool, and there's actually a little baby Bigfoot over here, and then I think that's like supposed to be the mom. This I think is the dad. But when I saw this, I just had to have it because my stepfather is super afraid of Bigfoot, and I mean, I don't think he'll be afraid of this, obviously, but it'll be a really funny gift, right? I'll have to figure out how I want to do it, if I want to do a pillow for him or frame it. But I started this one in the middle of July, I think like July 15th. I wanted to start it because it's nice and small. It's actually the same color fabric as the Gentle Rain, so this one's also Legacy 37 count, which was not the called for, but there was a big enough piece, and so I was like, okay, let's just cut them and go with it. But I started this one because I was going to be traveling down to Florida to Fort Myers to visit my grandparents, which was wonderful. Quick trip on like a Wednesday to a Sunday. My tickets were, I think, round trip was under $150 on Southwest, which these days the flights have gone down even more, but at that time I was like, I can't not do this. I haven't been down there to see them in years. So that was some fun stitching to do on the plane, and I mean, it's really close to being done. I just have been, I don't know, excited about a couple other projects, and so I haven't been giving it as much attention. It definitely could have been finished by now. So next up is, sorry, I had a moment there. I was caught in I didn't know. I was confused. I'm like, did I do the butterfly cloth? Yes, that's the one I started with. So this one has been really exciting, and I've been anticipating and waiting for it for a long time. So we talked about stitching and how long I've been stitching before, and just kind of getting into Instagram and now Flusstube, and just trying to just jump right on in, because why not? One of the new things that I have uncovered or discovered throughout this process has been, like, you know, all kinds of new designers, because historically, you know, Crafted Zen, like I said, it's like kind of repetitive with the X's and all that stuff. Well, I also find myself really attracted to some of the same types of patterns over and over again, which has recently changed by design. I was kind of trying to force myself out of my comfort zone. Over the last, let's say, 4 to 5 years, as I've been stitching more and more regularly, I cannot get enough of ink circles. That is my just like everything designer. And I mean, I think I pretty much exclusively was stitching ink circles for a long period of time. A couple reasons for that. I mean, I love samplers, and I love the antique looking and legacy stitching and all of that kind of stuff. But at the same time, I like stuff that's a little bit more modern. And I think that when I started getting back into stitching, there weren't quite as many, or maybe I just wasn't aware of them, modern designers that were putting out stuff that I think was a little bit more fun, a little bit more 2020, although at the time it was probably 2015, but you guys follow what I'm getting at here. So I just always really liked the ink circle stuff. I like the fact that it's repetitive. A lot of her patterns are like mandalas, and I mean, just completely mirrored patterns, essentially. If you're familiar, then you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. But I mean, they would repeat certain shapes, obviously the patterns themselves. And so, like, for me, stitching is something where I go almost into a trance. And so with a pattern like that, where it's always the same, let's say a lot of hers, you would use hand-dyed or over-dyed floss on over-dyed linen, but you would only use one color throughout the entire thing. And you would be doing the same types of shapes over and over again. And so over time, you almost don't even need the pattern, because you know exactly what you're doing, and then you just go on autopilot, which is wonderful. But either way, I was really, really into ink circles for a long time. I think one of my next videos, what I'll do is I'll just kind of show you guys all of the different ink circle projects that I have not quite finished because they're not framed, but I finished the stitching. So I'm not sure exactly what that acronym is, but whatever that is, if someone could comment it to me, just let me know and I'll use the jargon. But either way, I figure at some point I'll just do some videos that'll just, a video that'll walk you guys through my ink circles collection and all the ink circle patterns that I haven't done yet. But when I got into stitching, the stitching community online, I started getting exposed to all kinds of new designers, right? And even before that, a few months ago, when I went to my stitching shop, The Inspired Needle, I made a specific effort. I was looking for something to stitch for my boyfriend. One of his good friends just had a baby, and I was looking for something fun, something colorful, something youthful, and I was like, you know what, I need to branch out. I don't want to do an ink circles pattern, because I had actually just done an ink circles pattern for Joe's first nephew, and I think it was It's a Jungle, which is just awesome, and I don't have it because it was framed and given as a gift, so I can't show it now or ever, but I was looking for something to make for a baby, and I basically said to myself, I need to find something that isn't ink circles. I need to branch out. Let's find some new stuff. And so that day I bought a bunch of different designs, one of which was actually the butterfly cloche by Hello from Liz Matthews, which is funny now because I rediscovered her online and obsessed. But all that is to say, I have been doing my best to try and find new designers so that maybe, you know, I have other things to stitch too. I don't know, because variety is the spice of life, and because I need to get out of my comfort zone. I can also still stitch all of the ink circles things, but I mean, I can stitch other things too, right? So either way, I ran into and followed, like maybe a month and a half ago, TheWitchyStitcher on Instagram, and I stumbled upon the Crafted Stitch Along, and this is bringing us to a variety of firsts. It's my first digital pattern. I've never done a digital one before, and I love it. I put it up on the iPad, and it's amazing. In fact, like moving forward, I wish I could give the proceeds to my local stitching shop by buying digital, but I might be buying digital and just go there for the supplies. So I'm doing this one digital, and it's also my very first stitch along. All called for. I even was able to find the old Salem 30 count, which is like amazing. All right, we get to see if I was any good at splicing these videos together. Hopefully the answer is yes, because there was a slight interruption. But anyway, I was saying, I think before, that this is all the called for. I was really excited. So it's, I think I mentioned the old Salem 30 count. I couldn't believe she had it. I walked in and I was like, I know that it was sold out everywhere online. So I mean, you couldn't get it from TheWitchyStitcher. I couldn't find it on Etsy. I was also nervous that I wouldn't pick out the right size fabric or something like that. Hey Henry, he's sleeping. But I was worried I wouldn't find the right size or something like that. And so I went into my shop, and they're always so wonderful and so sweet about making sure I get the right sizes of things. At some point, I'm sure I'll learn how to do that, and it won't be so stressful anymore. It's probably pathetic that I don't know already. But I told her, I go, you know, I'm sure we won't be able to get the right thing, but this is what I'm looking for. She goes, oh, Old Salem, not a problem. Walks right over, grabs out of a basket, hands it to me. It was amazing. But either way, so this was released at the beginning of the month, and this is a stitch along. This is my first ever stitch along. I've never done one of those either, so I've been really excited about that, and it's been super fun, you know, just watching everyone in their progress on Instagram, meeting other people that, you know, like the same types of stuff that I do, just because I mentioned earlier, so I like repetitive patterns, which is why I really loved ink circles, but I also really love, I've noticed by the things that I've stitched and the things I'm attracted to, I love Halloween stitching. I think a lot of people feel the same way. The holiday stitching in general is fun, but Halloween stitching is super fun. So that is all of that. The next Crafted is released, I think, September 3rd, and I'm super excited about that. I have a couple other things that I can show. So I do have a couple of my most recent finishes. One we actually talked about, or I talked about. So this is actually, it's O Feathers, Rosewood Manor by Karen Kluba. And this one is the one that I bought along with like 5 other patterns the day that I was looking for a pattern, or a gift for Joe's friend's baby. And it's pretty much all finished. The only thing I need to do, notice I said it was done and it's not, right? All I have to do is add the baby's initials, and then we have to get it framed. But this was such a fun design. So bright and vibrant. Love it. This one is, I believe, stitched on the called for. And I use the called for silks. I had never used these before, this brand. I'm seeing a lot more of it, I believe. The petites. That was the first time I stitched with those, and I thought they were nice. It's pretty good. I've also got a pattern that I haven't finished in here, so I guess I'll show that to you guys in a bit. I've got a couple of the ones that I guess I've got haul. That's gonna be hard to keep up with because I try not to buy things endlessly, and I've noticed in a lot of Flusstube videos, there's a lot of focus on the haul. So as I mentioned, ink circles, definitely an obsession. When I saw this pattern, I about lost my mind. And I was late to the party because I saw it, well, I didn't see it until after they had released all of the blocks. But so this is another Year Creeps By. And I sound like a broken record, but this is not stitched on the called for linen, but it's all the called for colors. So here we go. This one was so fun. I started it at the beginning of the year with the goal that I would make it all the way through by my birthday, which is in April. And I didn't quite make it, but that's because I stopped stitching this and started stitching something else because I needed, actually, what it was is I had made it all the way until this last square here. I just needed to do this, and the baby was about to be born, and Joe was like, you know, we need to get this stitched pretty quick, you know, he was trying to put the pressure on me, and so I put it on hold. I put it on the back burner, and I got that peacock done, which I didn't get done quite as quickly as I wanted to, but I think I did a pretty good job. So, last but not least, I thought I might show off some of my most recent haul from, you guessed it, my local shop, The Inspired Needle in Lemont. So this is Rosewood Manor Homewards, another Karen Kluba. I love it. I love the words. Kind of toying with the idea of doing different colors, which is something I've never done before, but I'm learning all about the fact that that's something you can do thanks to my new stitchy friends on Instagram and Flusstube. So I'm thinking maybe like greens or blues. Just, I think mainly to make it a little more masculine and then also a little bit more versatile so that I can maybe keep it up all year round. Because right now with it being the pinks and the reds, I feel like it's very Valentine's Day, and I wouldn't keep those colors up all year round in the home. So then another one, Rosewood Manor. Obviously I have a habit of finding designers that I like and then I just keep buying more of their stuff, I guess. This one I saw on my most recent visit where I was just supposed to get the the supplies for the Crafted Stitch Along, and then, you know, 3 patterns and supplies later, I don't want to see the Visa bill this month, right? I'm just kidding. But so this one's gonna be really pretty. A little more colonial, I feel, in the styling, but still has that kind of repetitive feel. I really love the colors. There's like this, I have those in here so I can show. Oh, you know, this one isn't fully the called for thread either. I had to replace, let me see. They wanted, what did they want? 5 skeins of brick by Weeks Dye Works, and I did the Gentle Art Weathered Barn instead. But you can see like that's going to be the coloring of the red in the pattern, which is very pretty. Lots of nice teals. And then, I guess I'll show you guys this one since this one's got all of the design put together. I picked up by the Tiny Modernist, which it's so funny because I don't put 2 and 2 together when I'm shopping at the store. But I started following the Tiny Modernist on Instagram a couple months ago and love all their stuff. So of course when I show up at the store now, I start gravitating towards these things. I think part of it is just I didn't know it was out there and I was in my own little bubble and I didn't want to move outside of it. So lesson for everyone, move outside your bubble. You'll find cool stuff. But so this is Christmas Village, and this is an old stitch along. So I picked up all 4 parts to it. And she did, what I do now is like right away, if I can get the linen, I get the linen, because otherwise, as my tale of woes has gone this whole time, they won't have it. So this is Picture This Plus color Crystal Nessie 32 count. So pretty, all sparkly. I prefer the higher counts. 40 is, you know, pretty small, but I like 40. 36 is pretty good. But I don't know if you guys can really see. Can you see all the sparkles? I'm just like waving this thing around with abandon. And now I realize you want to see the sparkle. So, very pretty. Nice blue, icy blue. I'll put this back in the bag in a minute. So that's pretty much everything. I mean, I got all the called for floss. I have to bag it up and get it organized and all that good stuff. But, you know, that's pretty much everything when it comes to my most recent haul. I've got all kinds of other patterns in my stash that I can show you guys at another time. But I figured this would be kind of a good intro, good dive into things from a Flusstube #1 perspective. I don't know. All right, so I mean, I think that's pretty much everything I've got for today. My big goal was just to get this video done and to have the nerve to do it. So, you know, if you've stuck around this long and you found my rambling interesting, entertaining, probably anything other than annoying, you can feel free to subscribe to my channel. I am going to be trying to put together, or no, I'm not going to be trying, I will put together a video. I think at this point I'm going to commit to every 2 weeks. I would do it every week, but I don't know if I'll have enough stitching for it to be exciting. So we'll have to kind of see how that goes. Maybe as I start doing more projects and the stitch alongs kind of pick up, there'll be more to share. But I figure every 2 weeks will be a good clip so that I have enough stitching, life events, and things going on to update you guys on. So yeah, if you want to hit that subscribe button and come hang out again in about 2 weeks, I'd be more than happy to have you. Otherwise, you can always throw a comment or a like on this video. I will respond to those. I'm highly responsive. And if you wanted to follow along a little bit more regularly, I do post to my Instagram every couple of days, or, you know, every day if I have the time to stitch. You know, I'll share my progress and updates, sometimes some pictures of the puppies and things of that nature, plants. But you can find me on Instagram at _crafted_zen. I will include all of that stuff and links to things that I've mentioned in the description of this video. And without further ado, thank you so much. I'll talk to you later. Bye.